So, there's this one website that lets you see the ratings for every episode of a TV show, which got me thinking, what One Piece arc has the best episodes and what arcs have the worst? Hi, my name is Way and I'm a bit of a One Piece fanatic. Let's set some ground rules. No filler will be included in this. I've removed them all from the rankings, and that way it prevents them from tanking the scores when they're not really actually part of the real show. The average One Piece episode is an 8.1, so anything below that is, well, below average. So, with all the filler episodes gone, what's the lowest ranking arc in One Piece? Well, to no surprise, it's Long Ring Long Land, at a 7.14. Even though half the arc is filler, which is removed, it's still just not it. One Piece removed 47% of this arc, which does include the filler, but still means 47% of it is just padding. If you don't know what One Piece is, it's basically like all of the bad pacing in One Piece removed from the show. It's a fan-made project, and I'm a big advocate of One Piece. So for all of the arcs, I'm going to mention the padding percent, which is the padding that every arc has. Believe it or not, that's not even the worst padding score. There's some really bad ones later. The only good thing about this arc is Afro Luffy, but after the novelty of that wears off, it's just boring. It feels like a filler arc and it doesn't really need to be there. Next up, surprisingly, is Reverie at a 7.37. Reverie's not even a bad arc. I just couldn't remove the recap episodes from the arc because they're padded into the canon episodes. There's so much fluff and padding added to the arc that it has a 63% remove score on One Piece. It is absolutely ridiculous, which is no surprise of why the arc didn't do very well when 63% of it is not even in the manga. It also just has interactions that I don't care about, like Shirahoshi and Mancherry, and Vivi and Rebecca. Like, I literally do not care. I'm sorry. I care about the stuff happening about the world government. There are cool parts, like when the Celestial Dragon stands up for Shirahoshi. But there really isn't a part of the arc I can recall fondly. It's just a very forgettable arc, and only memorable as events happened in the back of my head. If Reverie was a surprise, then Little Garden at a 7.4 is more surprising to me. I think Dory and Bragi are pretty cool and iconic, and they set a stage for what the Grand Line can offer. One Piece only removes 26% of this arc, so it's barely even padded too. Now, we can all agree that Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Wick are absolutely awful, and they take down the arc completely. Luffy falling for the colors traps multiple times is infuriating, especially when his whole crew got caught by this guy. Like, that guy caught Zoro? I don't know. It's just a lot of the crew falling for stupid tricks. I can understand why a watcher might not like that. Although I have to also say, I think that that arc is better on a rewatch, because when I first watched the arc back in 2014, I did not like Little Garden. So maybe it's just an arc that is more appreciated to someone who's seen the rest of the series. The next one is not a surprise to me, which is Syrup Village, also at a 7.4. This arc is where many people struggle to get into the show. Usopp is just so unlovable at the start of the series and feels like a burden to add to the crew. While this changes later, it doesn't stop people from hating him at the start. One Piece only removes 20% of this arc, so it's also very manga accurate. It's just not it though. I think the live action did a really good job though of remaking it, and it's hard to criticize it too much as this is one of the first arcs Oda wrote, and he was still finding his writing style. The next arc is only 2 episodes, which is Reverse Mountain at a 7.55. With Pace removing a staggering 41% of this arc, it honestly could have just been 1 episode. Both episodes are rather unremarkable, and without Brook giving us a reason to love Laboon, he's just simply a random whale that the Straw Hats run into. There's no wow factor in this arc, which is why I think it's just ranked like okay. It's not amazing, not horrible, just exists. The next cannot be said about the next arc though, which is Fishman Island, also at a 7.55. However, unlike Reverse Mountain, this arc isn't only 2 episodes, it's 51 episodes of meh. At a 35% padding percentage on One Piece, this is the #1 arc people stop watching One Piece on. And I can see why. Shirahoshi is annoying. Hody Jones is perhaps the worst villain in this series, with just being a knockoff Arlong, with no reason to be so racist against the humans except for, I don't know, they did nothing to me, I just hate them. It's just how I am. Literally the whole arc could have been prevented if Shirahoshi told everyone that she knew Hody killed her mom. I get that she was trying to not create hate because of her mom's wishes, but like there's a point where honesty is important. Especially when her mom was literally fighting to be friends with humans, and by not saying anything, everyone believed that a human killed her mom. Fishman Island is my least favorite arc, which is probably why they remade this arc. The remake's average episode is 8.14, so people were definitely happier with it. I rewatched the remake and I do agree it's better, but it doesn't save the arc from just being bad. Next up is Punk Hazard at a 7.72, which I personally feel is a bit unjust. At a 47% pace padding percentage though, it does drag out a lot more than it needs to. I could just be biased towards liking this arc because I love Law, but I think the cast in the arc is genuinely just really good, with Smoker, Law, and Kiamon being added as allies. Smoker, temporary ally, but Caesar is a very obnoxious villain, and seeing Luffy get taken out by this guy is rather disappointing. Also, can we just agree that the Yeti Cool Brothers are a waste of time? The whole arc could have been shorter for sure, and I think it would have performed better if some parts were omitted. Also at a 7.72 is Orangetown, with a 27% pace padding percentage. Another arc that was very well done in the live action. My only critique with the live action is it makes Buggy seem more competent than he actually is. But sometimes you have to trade things in to make an arc actually suspenseful, which is what the anime does not do. Luffy gets stuck in this stupid cage for half the arc, and all the characters feel a lot weaker than they really are at this point in the story. And that's because in early One Piece, Zoro is just too strong, so Oda has to keep crippling this man every second he can in order to keep the balance of the series. There's just too many handicaps on Luffy and Zoro this arc that were so avoidable. I can understand why the arc fell short for some people. Next is Zoe at a 7.77. With pace removing a staggering 54% of this arc, I can just say Zoe was fine. The coolest part was finding out Raizo was safe, and the rest of it is honestly very forgettable. There's animals, there's Jack who gets one shot by an elephant, and then there's, pump that up to a 9, cause damn, I ain't forgetting that. But in all seriousness, Zoe really feels like an in-between arc, and it's just too long for what it is. Skypiea is next at a 7.9. I like Skypiea personally, but I can't lie and say I didn't hate this arc on my very first watch through. At a 30% pace removal, I was disappointed when I first watched this arc back in 2014. It just felt like it had no impact on the story. The Straw Hats are somewhere no one on the Blue Sea can know about them. Everything they do changes nothing down there. Bounties don't change, there's no marines. And then, instead of a cool sky island being the main area everything happens in, it's just an oversized jungle from the Blue Sea. It doesn't feel like we're in the sky. As I rewatched this arc throughout the years though, I've come to really appreciate it, especially in a sense of how it ties into the history of the One Piece world. Also, Eno is iconic. My favorite part about this arc though will always be the no one backstory segment. It really explains everything going on that was unclear before. Before knowing the backstory, I don't care about the Shandians at all, which is perhaps why I didn't care for the arc on my first watch through, and perhaps why this is only ranking at a 7.9. Beating Skypiea just barely is Jaya at a 7.91. With pace removing only 14% of this arc, this is actually the best paced arc in the entire series. Still, I think these monkeys just hold the arc back too much for it to break through the average 8.1 One Piece holds. This arc definitely ends very strong, with very memorable moments, like Blackbeard's speech, one-shotting Bellamy, and Shanks and Whitebeard. It's just those damn monkeys at the start really just dragging the score down. It deserves to be higher, but it is what it is. After Jaya is Thrower Bark at a 7.92. With pace removing 50% of this arc, it is one of the worst paced arcs pre-time skip. Thrower Bark really just starts off so weak. I hate Moria. I hate his voice. I hate his weird squash-shaped body. I hate how lazy he is, and I hate that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji get their shadows taken so easily. But once Moria's out of the picture, the arc is really good. Kuma is much scarier than Moria, and Zoro has his coolest moment in the series in my opinion. Not to mention, Rook's backstory is so good it makes me cry every time. It's just, the start is so meh. Also, there's this creep who I'm really glad Blackbeard kills later because oh my god, he is disgusting. Oda is very generous in killing the gross, disgusting men for us, like Abu Salam and Vanderdecken from Fishman Island too. Can't let these genuine perverts live. I'm telling you, Sanji is different. He's not gross like them, alright? He has boundaries, I think. Tied with Thrower Bark is Whisky Peak, also a 7.92. Pace only removes 20% of this arc, which is really good actually. Overall, this arc Luffy is just really stupid and obnoxious. This arc is basically just Zoro being cool AF, which I'm all here for. But with uninteresting villains, I can understand why this arc doesn't have a very high ranking compared to what's to come. It's just okay. No one's out there like, oh yeah, my favorite arc is Whisky Peak. Like, no. Although, at a 7.97, Drum Island is next. And unlike Whisky Peak, there very well might be some people who say this is their favorite arc. However, I'm not one of them. Pace only removes 21% of this arc, but Wapol is still in the arc. They did not remove that in Pace. And with Wapol as the main villain, how well can it really do? Chopper is cool. Chopper's backstory is really good. But take that out, and it's just kinda, you know? It's still a good arc and very memorable, it's just Wapol sucks. You might notice a trend is that if the villain is bad, the arc does not perform very well. People like a good villain, and Wapol is not it. Next at an 8.03 is Baratie, with 28% pace removal percentage. This arc is like the first longer arc in the East Blue to really start to engage the watcher. I understand completely though why the live action removed Krieg as a villain in this arc, because he is the worst part of this arc. Oh, and this guy too. Sanji's backstory is good. Gin is so memorable, he's become a meme in the community, and Sanji's just a good addition to the crew that was well received, unlike a certain somebody. He was strong, could cook, funny, and conventionally attractive. I don't know if you can tell, but I am a Sanji fan. Tied with Baratie is Impel Down, also at an 8.03. However, Pace removes 45% of this arc. I think Impel Down is a good arc. It keeps you on the edge of your chair, while also proving that One Piece is still a great story, even without the regular crew. The reappearance of Buggy and Bon Clay are a delight. Mr. 3, well, I mean, I guess he does mesh with Buggy, so it's okay. The only reason I think it doesn't rank higher is it just doesn't have the same wow factor as the other arcs I have yet to talk about. Also, there are just a few characters in this arc that could have been removed or done better, but overall, it's a good arc, and I have little complaints about it. Next is Post-War arc at an 8.07. Thank God for One Piece, because there is a 47% padding percentage in this arc. I love this arc personally. Getting to see Luffy's full backstory is great, and Oda did that really well. Luffy's emotions after Ace died feel real and heartbreaking to watch. Luffy's training with Rayleigh is cool. There's nothing bad about this arc. The only reason I think it doesn't rank higher is that the episodes about the whereabouts of the Straw Hats are so dragged out. These stories are based purely off of cover stories, but the anime makes it 2 Straw Hats per episode. You're basically taking a single image and turning it into 10 minutes of content, which pads the episodes substantially. This arc is one of the few that the bad pacing directly ruins the whole episode watching experience in several instances by just adding like 90% padding to them. And next up at an 8.08, just barely below the average episode rating, is Amazon Lily. With Pace removing 56% of this arc, Jesus, okay, that is a lot. This arc just suffers from it. The whereabouts of the Straw Hat Part 1 are also in this arc, and it has the same issues as the post-war arc. 56% is insane. But, you know, Hancock is cool. There are a lot of cool moments in this arc. There are no remarkable moments, but it's also just good. Being at an 8.08 when the average One Piece episode is an 8.1 makes sense, since this arc truly does feel just average. There's little to hate, but also little to boast about. At 8.12 is Alabasta. Finally above the average One Piece episode score. With Pace only removing 24% of this arc is overall well paced. Similar to Arlong Park getting people attached to the show, Alabasta does the same thing. It's the first arc that has themes that carry over through multiple islands, with Vivi being an ally through them, and with the hype from the previous arcs expecting this arc to be good, it is! It meets the watcher's expectations. Crocodile is a phenomenal villain and really feels like a threat Luffy actually struggles with. Every Straw Hat gets a battle this arc for the first time. We see people like Nami actually have a proper battle and push herself. Zoro growing as a swordsman and having this epic moment. And this arc has the best takedown of a villain thus far when Luffy punches Crocodile through the ceiling. There's just so many good parts of this arc, and it's no wonder people loved it too. The only part dragging the score down of this arc is the desert portion at the start, which I agree is long and could be cut down. Next is Lougetown at an 8.17. This arc is tiny when you remove the filler episodes, but it just doesn't really have any bad parts to it, is the thing. Smoker is cool, Buggy showing up again doesn't feel forced and adds to the arc. We also get some more about Roger here, which is cool. And seeing Luffy escape death via lightning strike is so cool it made Bartolomeo into the fanboy he is now. It's exactly what an in-between arc should feel like. Short, brief, but meaningful. The next one might shock you, but it's Water 7 at an 8.18. Many people agree Water 7 is one of the best arcs in One Piece. However, keep in mind this is Water 7, not Enies Lobby, which people are usually talking about Enies Lobby when they say Water 7. With pace removing 29% of this arc, it's not badly or amazingly paced, it's alright. The arc has some amazing moments, like Luffy versus Usopp, Robin leaving, and for the first time it feels like the crew is on a downward spiral. Down 2 members, Luffy has to walk forward and fight the toughest battle yet, the mental battle. And fun fact, after his battle with Usopp, he actually didn't smile once until Soge King shows up. I think this more dark theme sets the stage of what One Piece can be. There's just no bad characters in this arc. The city is beautiful, it's just good. I have very little to complain about, if at all. The next arc is Arlong Park at a 8.2. Arlong Park is the first arc where you're like, oh, this is serious. With only 19% padded, there isn't much waste time. Nami's backstory is literally what made me love One Piece. I had tried to watch the anime several times before and dropped it once in Spirit Village and the other time in Baratie. I gave it one last try and got to Arlong Park, and after that it was just over. I began to love it and became fully addicted to the story. I can't not cry when watching Nami ask Luffy to help her. It's just physically impossible for me, no matter how many times I've seen it. It's just such a wonderful moment, and the moment you realize it's not your ordinary shonen anime. It's crazy to say to someone that they should watch the first 36 episodes of One Piece to really get into it, but it's true. It's really where it actually hooks you. It's where it gets you. And I really do hope when Studio Wit remakes it, they will do this arc justice and also make it much easier to get to this arc. Coming in at number 10 is surprisingly Romance Dawn at an 8.27. With only 27% padding percentage, this is just the first few episodes of the show and features Alvida and meeting Zoro. I personally wouldn't rank it higher than Arlong Park, but just because this is average episode ranking and there isn't a bad episode here, I think it does a good job setting up Luffy and Zoro as characters. There's just not much to critique in these episodes. They're just done so well and they're very iconic. Next up is Dressrosa at an 8.33. The fact Dressrosa is ranking so high, with pace removing 52% of this arc, is actually baffling. I don't hate Dressrosa at all, but the pacing is so bad, you can watch an episode and sit there like, huh, wow, nothing happened at the end. Now, with one pace, I'm able to enjoy Dressrosa again, but it just goes to show that if the story is good, people will enjoy it even with awful pacing. Dofi is my favorite villain. His backstory and his absolute domination and control over Dressrosa are great. While his backstory is great, Gear 4 is cool. The Coliseum at the start is not great and it is slow, but the second half of the arc is fire. I'm also biased towards Dressrosa because Law is my favorite character, but I still think it's deserving of its spot at number 9. Next is a short arc, which is Return to Sabaody at an 8.47. This arc has a rather low padding score for post-time skip at only 29%. It's just an arc full of hype that does a good job meeting said hype. Everyone is stronger, we get reintroduced to the characters again, and the fake Straw Hat crew is iconic and really funny, which is a great way to execute the meetup after 2 years. Although I will say I am tired of these outfits being used for every opening video game and so on as their default for all merchandise. Coming in at number 7 is my personal favorite arc, Whole Cake Island. With pace cutting out 40% of this arc, I have to come clean and say that I've actually never watched this arc without pace. I don't know how the pacing feels in the normal anime, as I took a mini One Piece break around that time so I could binge when I came back, and it was all paced by that time. Maybe Zoe was just so underwhelming for me that I had to take that break, I don't know. Either way, while the start of the arc is a bit weak, I just love the rest of it. Luffy versus Sanji, Luffy believing in Sanji, the character development in Sanji. This arc is why Sanji is my favorite on the crew other than Luffy. It really helps me give appreciation to him, and I love his backstory. I also love the fact that the enemy on this arc is someone Luffy cannot even fight yet, which adds a looming danger to the whole arc. The Katakuri fight also, it's so good. I love Katakuri so much, I don't care if he's 16 feet tall, I'm still smashing. Don't come after me. The arc also, in my opinion, has one of the best endings. There's no dawdling around since they're still running from Big Mom, so it really feels continuous. And at the end, Pudding Kiss is just chef's kiss. I could talk about why I love this arc for a whole video, but we gotta move on to the next arc, which is number 6, Enies Lobby. And this is the arc people actually mean when they say Water 7 is their favorite arc, and it's no secret as to why. Pace removes 37% of this arc, but this arc just makes you feel things. Similar to Nami saying to Luffy to help her, when Robin says she wants to live, I cannot help but cry. Robin's whole backstory, the suspense of the fights, it's the first time the crew has directly attacked the Navy, and it really helps develop this side of the world. It's just all good. Gear 2 is so well known, it's even used by athletes at the Olympics. Every crew member gets a dedicated moment or fight, just like Alabasta, but they feel so much better and fun to watch. Everyone gets upgraded in the crew. Usopp, I mean, Sogeking is likable for the first time in the series, and it's just a really well put together arc. And then it ends with the Mary, and man, dude, Oda just knows how to make us cry, and it is unfair. Never before would I believe I would cry for a boat, but One Piece just does that to you. At number 5 is Post Enies Lobby. Legally distinct arc, I swear. With Pace removing 43% of this arc, well, actually less because I did omit 4 episodes of filler from this, it's not too badly paced. There's no bad moments in this arc though. We meet Garp, we see Kobe, we recruit Frankie, we see Ace versus Blackbeard, and we see Whitebeard and Shanks. There's just a lot of epic moments and big shots doing big things, and it's cool to watch. It's a great way to conclude the Water 7 saga. Number 4 might be a bit of a surprise, but it's Sabaody Archipelago. With Pace removing 36% of this arc, the arc really only picks up the second Duval is no longer the villain. But once it does, it just keeps going. The 11 supernovas are really cool. I love their introduction, and learning about the celestial dragons and the slavery and gross side of the world government is really well written. Then, when Luffy punches the celestial dragon, goddamn, it's just really good. The crew also for the first time feels truly helpless and realizes how weak they are. Seeing Luffy lose all of his friends for being too weak is truly heartbreaking. It's a real eye-opener for Luffy. It helps direct where the future of the series will go. Now, just the top 3 left, and at number 3 is Wano at an 8.56, being the largest arc by like 100 episodes. Having 39% of this arc being padding, it's honestly so much better than Dressrosa's 52%, but it's still not great. The animation quality being just so much better of this arc really helps it shine, and I mean, Gear 5, I don't need to say much more. Absolute cinema. It definitely drags in places though, there is no denying. There are just so many characters in the arc, and giving them all the spotlight they are set up to have is hard. Like, there's 20 things happening at once, of course there's gonna be parts I do not care about. And with animation like this, of course there's gonna be episodes with less budget that get this. God, why didn't they just use like a stationary image? It's so bad. Oden's backstory though is phenomenal, and the conclusions of all the fights are really, really good. The animation is so good on all of them. The getting to the fights sometimes they drag out a bit, but overall it's a great arc. I just wish Yamato didn't blue ball us at the end and actually join the crew. At number 2 is Egghead actually at an 8.93. With Pace removing 36% of this arc, there's just nothing bad about this arc. Egghead is really, really good and one of my favorites. Not only that, but the animation makes Wano look like an experiment. Every episode looks so good in Egghead. Egghead and the end of Wano is why so many people are getting into the series right now, because they see the animation, they see Gear 5, and it's so goddamn beautiful they're willing to take the 1,000 episode plunge for it. One Piece is truly peak right now, and it just keeps going up, and this arc is part of that peak. So many epic fights, so much cool lore dropped, the 5 elders, it's just pure hype in this arc, and it's so surprised to me why it's ranking so high. Personally, I would expect it to be number 1, but unsurprisingly, number 1 belongs to Marineford at a 9.38. With Pace removing a shockingly high 44% of this arc, Marineford has still been loved by fans for years ever since it came out. While I personally love Marineford, I don't know if it deserves the number 1 slot. and then its episodes might be a little bit glazed. There are a lot of hockey problems, and the lack of Devil Fruit awakenings here, when you rewatch it with modern day knowledge, just really opens up a lot of plot holes. But if you ignore that, then yes, this arc is really good. I cry every time at Ace and Whitebeard's deaths in this arc. They're so iconic that you don't even need to watch One Piece to know about them, or to know about the One Piece is real meme. I even animated myself and a few of my VTuber friends as that meme, it's so iconic. Marineford is really just a staple part of One Piece, and I only wish that Luffy was less prominent in it. He kind of feels like a fly on the battlefield, and I'd have liked to see more of the other fights, but he is the main character, so it is what it is. And that's it. All 32 One Piece arcs ranked by their average episode rating. If you enjoyed this, leaving a like and subscribing would really help me out, as it allows me to make more content like this. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/WayyVT. The link is in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.